So you were saying that a few of the things that I recollected from our conversation, you wanted to mainly clarify. And so I wanted to just preface that. So, because I was telling people I might have misremembered what you said. So like, what were those specific topics that you were talking about from watching the video?
Okay. So in general, look, at the end of the day, man, I hate to say it, man, MK11 was horrible.
You gotta get off that hill, bro.
I don't gotta get off the hill because it's not based on, like, I understand people will say MK9 was horrible, but we loved it. We had fun with it. So I understand when something is fun, you're willing to put up with a lot when you really have fun doing it at the end of the day. I mean, what it is. But I want to apologize to everybody. I'm still at work, but I'm just doing this in the truck here with my boy Lou. So listen, MK11 is a bunch of great ideas that were horribly implemented. And MK1 is a game of bad ideas that were poorly implemented. So it's a lose for that game. And MK11, for example, it had a lot of ideas that I really loved. The breakaway, which we all know is probably the most hated mechanic in the game. I think everybody agrees on that.
Probably so.
I think the breakaway, I prefer that to breaker. It was a great idea. The spirit behind the breakaway was to give the opponent an escape out of combos, but not allow them to escape certain death. So, sometimes, Lou, you play an MK1, for example, somebody's got 20%, you're making a big comeback, you hit them with a big combo, and now they got 20% left, but they got breaker. So now you got to touch them twice. You know what I'm saying? But in MK11, it doesn't matter, right? The game is over, you touch them. You see what I'm saying? So the idea was you still get to escape, plenty of times these big 40 and 50% combos, but you can't escape certain death. So it was a good idea. The problem is it also gave you combos for being comboed.
Exactly.
So that's where it was poorly implemented. And I know a lot of people were saying down 2 or armor breaker. The armor breaker was another good idea, but it was also poorly implemented. For one, you had certain characters, like Liu Kang, to whether you finish the juggle or not, it's going to hit no matter what. So if they break away, it hits. If they don't break away, it still hits, right? There were several characters that had this. Cabal had a good one too, right? I mean, like, you launch, you could do it right away after the launcher, or you could start a ground string. And if they say, a lot of times if you start a ground string, people will say, now I'll try to break away because you might whiff something. You can still put it at any time. So at any point, you're at risk of being, or if you do nothing, it still hits anyway. Then you had other characters who had these slow, normal moves where it wouldn't even hit unless they broke away. Where you could launch them, right? And if they didn't break away, it misses. And then they get up and combo you. But it wasn't a good, and even people could go down too. But that caused a scrubby mind game because then it's like, oh, I know he's going to down 2, so I'll just take the down 2. Now, if you started a ground combo string, they might break away and you might get comboed. So you down 2. So they say, you know what? I'll take the launcher into the down 2, take your 20%. So I didn't lose 45, I lost 20. So I gained a break scenario without having to spend the resources to break. So it created just a scrubby mind game powered by you might get comboed for comboing them. It was a great idea because the purpose of it would have been great. All they had to do was say, hey, now you're bound to max delay to wake up, problem solved. But they did everything but. It was a great idea. I like what they tried to implement around it, but it was just implemented poorly to say, all we had to do was this one last thing, never went back and revisited it. And I think maybe they would have, but they tried everything else, and there was just no time to go back.
Let me ask you this. If these were my 2 simple solutions for that, right? And they didn't implement it, like, this was my idea behind this. One of 2 things. Well, actually, both things. Breakaway has automatic delay wake up. That solves the problem that you have about getting combo for doing a combo, right? And then my second solution to make it fun, when you were talking about like the scrubby mind game, what I think that they should have had was every single character has a universal option that either would end the combo, or if you read it properly at the time of the break, you get to extend the combo like in the Killer Instinct mode. I think those 2 things would have solved it. And I was hoping that in Mortal Kombat 1, before we knew it was Mortal Kombat 1, if they brought back Combo Breaker, I was at least hoping they had a move where you can break the Combo Breaker and create that same scenario. That's what I thought would have been great for both sides, so it's a fair trade-off without you getting comboed for doing a combo, and still can get a reward for your read as well. I
think the point of the breakaway was to get you to escape combo damage without dying for it, which is, I think it's okay. I think, you're spending resource to break out, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. It's just, all they had to do was just make it so, look, it worked well, but you couldn't avoid certain death, but you're comboing people for comboing you. All they really had to do, it was a good idea if they would have just taken the breakaway and give it a max delay wake up timing. And here's the thing, this was the solution a lot of us said from the very first day of the game. And you had, the quote unquote toxic positive ones, just down 2 or whatever. It was never the right, sometimes it bothers me how there's an obvious answer and the community will, instead of saying, hey, it needs a fix, argue against it constantly just because who the people are that are suggesting it. You've made some great suggestions in MK1. It's ridiculous. Why? Because it's Lou Streets. He's an MK1 hater, right? So if just in you or Mike Hollow making a suggestion, even if it's good, it is automatically dismissed. Just do this, problem solved, right? So a lot of that, just down 2. No, it was never the solution. It was never the solution. All they had to do was just fix that. It was a good idea. I like the breakaway better than the breaker, but it was implemented extremely poorly.
Let me clarify. You like the breaker. Yeah. You like the breakaway better than the breaker because of the fact that you still get your damage, right? That's why you like it.
Yeah, it gives you the ability to escape these damaging juggles. You still get some damage grounded. So if you want to do a grounded combo, some characters like Jackie do a ton of damage while you're grounded. Other characters can do at least a little bit of guaranteed damage, right? While they're grounded. And then when you get launched, they don't have to worry about certain death scenarios they can't escape. And you can still go about your combo and look, either you break away or you take the damage. There is no mini game to be played now while they're
There's not another forced interaction. Like you're essentially saying, if you have 10% and you can break away, but I down 2 to kill you, the game's over. Versus in Mortal Kombat 1, there's one more forced interaction. Is essentially what you're saying. Okay.
And it's also anticlimactic sometimes. How many times have we seen, Lou, a dude's down to their final 10%. You got maybe 70. You make a big mistake. You get opened up. They take a big amount of life from you. Now they got 20%, but they got breaker. And then you have that, oh my God moment where you make another mistake and you get opened up again and the crowd's like, and then the breaker. Gotta hit him again. It becomes, you know what I mean? So it doesn't save you from making I think breakers and breakaway, I guess, should be there to give you that, breakout situation that's just part of fighting games now. But they found a way to do it while not allowing you to avoid certain death, which was good. But by not implementing it all the way properly, it had a huge downside, which was easy to fix. Delay wake up is in the game. Just bound them to that timing. Unfortunately, they did.
So
another bad.
No, go ahead.
Another bad. No, okay. What are you saying, Luke?
No, because what I'm basically trying to do is, because of it being clarification, I'm trying to make it clear to let's say the person that hates Lou Streets content or hates your content because we're like Debbie Downers. What I'm essentially trying to do in this conversation is clarify your specific reasons for why you enjoy versus dislike certain things.
That's why I'm getting there.
So for instance, when it comes to Mortal Kombat 11, you're not more so focused on the gameplay. You're focused on the intentionality behind how things are put into the game.
I'm focused on both, and let me explain. Flawless block also. I will give NetherRealm a lot of credit for this. There was no armor in the game because they realized we are just too stupid to implement armor properly. They're bad at it. MK9, safe armored launchers, right? MKX, a good portion of the game, safe armored launchers until they went about and started tinkering with it toward the end of the game, right? Getting rid of a lot of that stuff. But for several, there are points of the game to which that was the case. MK1, even with no moves that launch, armored moves become armored launchers. And in some versions of the game, plus or safe armored launchers, right? They just don't know how to do it, right? So MK11, they say, we're bad at it. Remove armor from the game. But you need some option when you're pressured, right? Because some characters, even if they're -1, you don't have a fast enough button, right? To stop them from counter poking, right? So -1 could be 0 or +1 based on your frames and theirs. Flawless block. Problem was, you could do it out of negative frames. They could have fixed it. You can't do it out of negative frames, problem solved. Same thing with throws. Either one throw techs them both. This way you can keep crushing blows on throws and it's not a scrubby minigame. Or no throw has crushing blows and they can keep the MK with, multiple throws. The mechanics were salvageable. So for those who kind of say, no matter what we say, because I know you, Lou, you bring up the sauce and whatever, but people will always say, well, Lou, the mechanics made the game bad, which kind of like is an irrefutable point. So you can talk about the soul or whatever, but look, you people, there are souls in hell. Ain't nobody likes the mechanics of going to hell. You see what I'm saying? So now, when it came to the soul of the characters, what I mean is, this is where I'm coming to, and your point. I saw your video yesterday. When, look, I'm gonna be honest with you, the combo with the least sauce was the MK11 one, right? It was just like over. However, NRS did say MK11, some characters, they put in things like Crushing Blow because it's not necessarily made to be every character have these ridiculously saucy characters, a combo. Because there are other ways to combo you. Liu Kang, what is it? It's F4 into what, 3 KB, right? He has damage off bite crushing blow. He has throw crushing blows. People have down 2 crushing blows. Oh, my bad. So because of this, it's not made to be the normal combo. There's other sauce in the game that leads to damage, right? So it was designed to not necessarily be all these crazy combos. So I have no problem with that design because there are other ways to get damage. Jade is not made to be a saucy combo character, right? So she has KBs on her shadow kick, you know, a throw KB that juggles. Characters are designed differently at the end of the day, and the game is designed differently. So I like how they were trying to think outside the box with that. The problem is, and always will be, what we were promised. It was never delivered. The game, you say it has a lot of soul to it.
It was made with love, in my opinion.
It's not made with love. It's made with, I think the intention was to make it with love. So I truly believe, like what I was saying to you, that this was intentionally. I originally, so if you're a casual, by the way, just for the sales of MK11, for those that bring that up, if you were a casual, day one MK11 was heaven for you. Because while if you were a competitive player, the game was originally supposed to launch with a custom variation system, which is where you were getting at in your video with our conversation. And NRS says, no, we're going to give you 2 canned variations because we couldn't get the custom variation system working right. So if you're a competitive player, the game launches with 2 canned variations, which you and I both know, day one of those 2 was the quote unquote wrong variation if you were competitive. So it's the illusion of choice. One variation's bad, one's good. One does everything, one does nothing. Now they tweaked that later on. But if you're a casual, think the game launches with a ton of skins to grind for, Shang Tsung's Island, you've got Towers of Time, and if you're a casual player, you don't have to play with 2 variations. You can go, like you were saying, like you did, right into player a casual and play customizable variations. So day one, you got a ton of stuff to grind for, and you could literally save 10 variations and play with your boys, and you're not bound to, you're basically making your own stuff up on the fly. So for a casual, these mechanic issues that I talk about, you don't care about that. You're getting skins, you're playing custom variations. The game is going to sell because it gives you a lot to do early on for a casual. For a competitive player, they did try to address it. They tried to tweak some things between variation 1 and 2, which they said they would do in interviews before the game came out. And then they gave you variation 3. But I think even there was a point of the game where it just got stale. People were like, and Ed Boon was on Twitter teasing possible remakes of Shaolin Monks or MK9, whatever, for E3. Maximilian actually did a video in which he said there was a possibility maybe he might be looking for something at E3 because Ed Boon generally will tease stuff, nothing. He teased stuff at the Video Game Awards. We watched it. We got nothing. So there was just a lot of time where he was teasing little things and we were getting nothing. It led to a lot of frustration. They used this to sell hope. Hey, we're Aftermath. Hey, what are the changes with Aftermath? The story mode was good. I liked it. However, it didn't deliver what we wanted. It didn't change enough. And we were right back in the same spot. And then came Ultimate. Now, when they announced the custom variation system, we were all thinking surely they were going to make some changes. It was not announced in a manner, because they didn't say we're unlocking custom variations. The big news was we are allowing custom variations. So we all thought surely like some changes are going to be made, because NRS for a while, before the game launch, has said that they could do things like change the property of moves to be your part of your base kit, take moves that are in your base kit and make them slot moves, or change the properties of the slotting themselves.
From 2 to 1.
So we all thought something was going to happen. Instead, they take moves and ban them instead of reworking them. And then like, I was very disappointed for the ground puddle. I wasn't saying put it the way it was, which, by the way, I don't know. I don't think would have been broken, but it is what it is. They could have at least reworked it, you know, or other moves in the game could have been reworked. Jade had a move, not Jade, Scarlet had a move that was banned. They could have reworked that as well.
Mm-hmm.
There were just certain things that, like some of the Frost Polar Trap, that could have been reworked as well. So many things that could have been reworked to give like a fresh face to characters. Didn't do it. A character like Melina. Lou, when you think of Melina's size, don't you think is that as part of just her basics?
Yeah, it's been there since Mortal Kombat 2.
Okay, do you understand that for Melina to equip a low side and an air side, that's 2 of her 3 slots gone?
Mm-hmm.
So for Melina to be able to throw her side low instead of high and in the air, 2 of her 3 move slots are gone just for basic moves. She also can't even equip a high and a low side because they have the confliction. They should have gone back in and take moves like that and say, you know what, base kit moves enough for Melina, high side, low side, air side, change the confliction. Look, characters like Cetrion could do her Hell's Wrath or whatever it is as part of her base kit, grounded, and did not need to equip an airborne version. It was part of her base kit.
Mm-hmm.
Katana had her square boost airborne and it became her armor breaker. It was part of her base kit, but to do it grounded, she had to equip it. And why? It's already part of her base move. Why should she need to spend a slot to do a move she already has?
Mm-hmm.
So it was very restrictive. You had some moves that were just terrible, and maybe you could work it in for some sauce, but because it's 2 slots, you just can't afford to give that spot up. So it was just terrible. Raiden, the character, you know, what I was saying was his Spark Port, and not Spark Port, his Storm Cell was 1 bar.
Cell, yeah.
Now remember Raiden's low? I think to make it launch, the EX version, I think you had to have the charge up, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
So which means it becomes a 2 bar, right? It's a 2 slot move.
Yeah.
His Staff Slam was only really good with the charge up. So to get that, you had to spend 2 slots just to equip it. They could have made his charge a default move. Then you could equip things like his low staff, or you could equip like maybe teleport, and then that.
Well, Spark Port shouldn't have costed a slot because that was a base raid move since Mortal Kombat Part 1.
Or Spark Port could have not costed a slot. They could have tweaked the Joe push to have some sauce on it. They could have put a cancel on it. So you throw the staff, you disappear. You could appear in front, behind, for a bar, or you could pull the trigger on it. You know, and bait if you're trying to punish. They could have reworked certain moves that are worthless to at least be worth the slotting at bare minimum. They did nothing. They gave you delayed content and masked it as new content. MK11, so while some characters had some sauce, a lot of the game is just very much potential unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
But they sold us, MK11 sold well because it was always selling us the promise and the dream of the reason why we were MK1 we're frustrated because we're like, dog, this is just bad. There's no way it can work. Look, what are you guys doing? MK11 we saw the potential, and it was potential unfulfilled, but they sold us hopes and dreams.
So this is something that we both talked about, and when you just said it came across my mind yesterday on the phone. So my definition of made with love is the soul of the characters, the identity of the characters, the universe, and how it kind of has like an authentic feel. Your definition of love is finishing all things promised, because that seems to be completing the mission, which means you care about the output. That's what you're essentially saying. That's like our difference in that opinion.
Different love. Do they not love Melina?
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're. I see what you're saying. I want to clarify that for the audience. I want to. I see what you're saying, but I want to clarify that for. I want to clarify that for the audience. That's what you're essentially saying.
Be another example. Sonya Blade. Give me the most iconic moves you can think of. Right. Give me the moves that ring your bell for Sonya. Give me some moves.
The leg grab and her air kick.
Leg grab.
Those are the 2 things I remember for Sonya. Yeah.
So leg grab. All right. Let's hit a couple of leg grab. How about her kiss?
Oh, the kiss fatality. Forgot about that.
No, but she normally had a kiss. So ring toss. I believe she had rings in MK11, right? She did.
Ring toss, leg grab, the kiss, and the air kick. So the main ones I can remember. And didn't Sonya have a square wave also?
So Sonya had a square boost. So her original moves were in MK1. Like let's take leg grab, probably her most iconic. Leg grab. She had square boost. Her cartwheel became an iconic move at one time as well. Her upward bicycle kick became an iconic move as well.
Mm-hmm.
So these are 99% of her most iconic moves, and none of them are in MK11.
Leg grab's not an MK11. Doesn't she? She has some type of air kick in it. Oh no, she has the air slam. She jumps up and slams your face down instead. That's what they changed it to. Her down back 2 move. Yeah, I mean, I guess I see what you're saying. I'm just trying to get to like the.
Oh, was that made with love? They turned Sonya into Ronda. They didn't put Sonya in the game. They put Ronda Rousey in the game.
Okay.
I used to joke around and say she's so much Ronda Rousey that if you kick her in the face, it should take 100% of her health and she should be knocked out. Like they turned her. That's how much they turned her into Ronda Rousey.
Okay, so
I mean, like, it's not Sonya. It's not Sonya.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't
you got
know
a point.
what character it is, but it ain't Sonya.
Yeah, you got a point. I mean, she got the personality like in the game, but move-wise, that's probably not her per se.
I mean, I got that Sub-Zero had an overhead. I got it. He could mix you. But Sub-Zero's most iconic moves, outside of Ice Ball, which is a basic, is Ice Clone, Ice Shower, or Ground Puddle.
Yeah.
There's no clone. I thought Ice Shower would have been. You couldn't put clone in the game because there was no armor. So I thought when I heard there was no clone and no armor, I said, "Oh man!" I said, "Man, they can bring back the Ice Shower. It's the perfect move for this game. They can reinvent him." Nope, they just made him overhead low. Whatever Arctic Trap was, I don't know who made that game. They should be fired.
Yeah, that was a random ass move.
You said soul of the character. For 90% of the game's life, all Shao Kahn did was sweeps and down ones. Remember, Shao Kahn was terrible. Who made Shao Kahn and said, day one when this game is launched, he's going to do a bunch of sweeps?
Now, he was ass when he first came out. He was super ass when he first came out.
You are making Shao Kahn. You are the designer, and you say, oh, he's going to do a lot of sweeps.
Yeah.
We're going to make that move good. Are you stupid? Where is his shoulder? I mean, like, he has shoulder charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I thought they should have done? They should have allowed you to maybe do like the Amplify version on block as well. Not like the launcher, but maybe like the overhead move or whatever. Like create some kind of mind game. That was in the beginning. I forget. I had some ideas for Shao Kahn.
You're focusing on the core of like what they do and like an identity. I guess so. I see what you're saying.
But where's this going?
Yeah, you're saying the classic stuff.
Lou, when you think of Shao Kahn, do you honestly think of him doing a bunch of sweeps with his hammer?
He's supposed to be a boss character, which is what he wasn't at launch. Essentially.
No, but so he's not supposed to be a character that has a bunch of sweeps because it's only -1, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's not Shao Kahn's style of play.
I mean,
if anything, it should have been more safe things, push back on block type of stuff, because that's what he was as a boss character in Mortal Kombat 2 and so on. That's what he should have been.
And they finally got him right. I do think they finally got him right. But there was a lot in the game that was unfulfilled for a lot of characters. I mean, the custom variation system was the extension on MKX, but it was anything but custom. For most characters, it was anything but custom. So, but they made a lot of money because they sold us hopes and dreams. So what happens is the unrest comes from you sold us and we bought and bought and bought. And then after you took our money, then you come out and say, we're done, right? And then you make MK1 instead and you underdeliver again. And what I mean is, by like MK11, I believe was a business decision. This is why I was the first one to call this. When all the toxic positive content creators were saying, be patient. Because Lou, you remember this, they were promising us some miracle overhaul. Be patient, Street Fighter took 4 years. Tekken took X amount of time. Our time is coming, you gotta be patient. We never got it. And I was the first one to say that's gonna happen, even though I was being quote unquote negative, because I'm like, it's a business thing. If you look at it, if you're Warner Brothers, to really give MK that sauce, that overhaul, that really tweak the custom, because the problem was the custom variation system being limiting as opposed to actually being custom. It was delayed content, not new content. And then, you know, the biggest gripes, how flawless block actually works, the wake-up system, that kind of stuff. Not the wake-up system, the breakaway mechanic. Why would we spend several $1 million to do that kind of a change where we could just change it and make another game and call it MK1? If we spend several $1 million to do this and release another version, it's going to sell like everything sells less. When the game launches, hype is at its highest. The expansion will sell well, but not as much as, you know what I mean, the initial hype. And sales stay good, but just never as much as the original, right? Mm-hmm. So what happens is they're like, well, if we release another version and spend several $1 million, what are we going to make profit-wise? Nowhere near as much as if we just release a whole new game. So I believe Warner Brothers made a business decision, as much as I'm sure NRS wanted to, because I duly believe the first year of the game was supposed to be a feel-out period. Before we go in and tweak and change and do anything, let's go ahead and see the competitive aspect of the game and make the right decision of what to do. But then COVID happened. So right when they were probably ready to do something, COVID had happened. And then, you know, what could they do with it, right? I mean, they were not in the studio. So I think they did the best they could. And then when they're finally everybody's back, everybody's working, I do believe what they were actually intending to do was go back in there and make those changes, change the properties to the moves, things that they couldn't do while they were out of the office. Then, of course, publisher says, look, at the end of the day, it's not profitable for us to spend several $1 million to do this. Let's move on to MK1. So I'm sure if they had the choice, they wouldn't have, but they decided to move on to MK1. I'm not going to fault them for that, even though they did sell us hopes and it didn't happen.
So just for clarification, for Mortal Kombat 11, you're putting that all on WB and not on NRS, not completing the project, which is why you say it lacks love. I just want to make that clear from the other video. That's the main thing that you're trying to drive home.
Yeah, so I'm saying I believe that when they realized they couldn't get the custom variation working, they still wanted to put all the moves in the game just to have them there, just to get them functional. And then they could put a move in the game that was terrible, make it 2 slots and say, you know what, we'll come back and revisit that, right? It's in the game. It's custom variations aren't for tournament, so we don't have to balance it but so much. We'll either make it better to make it cost 2 slots to justify it, or we'll make it part of a base kit, or we'll make it, you know, whatever. They can tweak it, right? They can tweak moves, tweak slotting, everything.
But with that, we're holding WB fully accountable for that. What I don't want is for the audience to get lost in the conversation.
I think they had a window. Yeah, I believe, like Ed Boon always said, we plan on supporting this game for longer. So I believe the plan was to have a bigger window so that they could do more. So I think MK11 was launched in a far more complete state than MK1, obviously. And there was a ton of potential there. They just never got to fulfill it, although we did pay for it. But that final decision, I can't fault them for COVID, right?
Yeah.
And when the publisher says you're done, they could easily say, hey, you know what? We thought we had more time. Even though every other game is getting overhauled, our publisher just says, we're not doing that. We're going to maximize our profit, which we know Warner Brothers to do, right? The situation they're in. Where I do fault them is MK1. So people will blame Warner Brothers still. However, if you are running a studio and you have a project for your publisher, you already know, boys and girls, they, them. Again, I'm old, Lou, so I don't want to insult anybody.
This ain't a political. We don't.
I know,
we keep it straight down the middle over here.
It's me, so people will look for anything.
Yeah.
So, you say, here's our budget, and here is the time frame. So we got to get a sellable product on this amount of funding right now, and it has to be ready by this time. Everything that is created, people know what their budget is and their time frame. That's why you hear, quote unquote, funding was cut. You think of an original budget, right? So when they decided to go with the Cameo system, somebody there made a conscious decision that even though we have limited funding and a limited amount of time, rather than take something that we already know that are proven mechanics that we have experience with, we are going to release an experimental system that is kind of gimmicky, that we don't have the time or the money to flush out properly. And they also know, for those who say, oh, they thought they had more time. Ed Boon said it's only year 2. You also know that you thought you had more time in the previous game. And you know that your publisher, you are at risk to, if you don't get it right, your publisher could said, we're going to pull the funding and move on, just like you did the next game. So you know you are at risk of not being able to get it right at launch. You are also at risk to not having the time and or money to get it right once said game is launched. So knowing that is the risk, because they just came out of that, someone there made the decision anyway. Guess what? Cameo system came out, it wasn't flushed out.
Wait. So let me stop right there because I want to try to like make sure that we understand this, like as far as the audience goes, we like make sure everything's clear. So you're saying that they could have went with the polished product of Mortal Kombat 11 and expanded that, but they didn't. So what I want to ask is, why do you think that that's the choice, that they could have made that decision, but they chose not to? What would be the logic behind that from your point of view?
Well, they didn't have to base it off MK11. They could have done a combination of 11 and X or 9X. They could have combined all three games into something using things that they could have just said, you know what? We will use a combination of normals that characters have across all three games. They could have, like, let's just say, you use Kung Lao as an example, Lou. You use that a lot, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you something right now. If you played MK9 or MKX Kung Lao, you would think that Kung Lao and MK11 owed the mob money and had lead in his shoes, cement in his shoes.
I've seen them, but still, the spirit of the character with that style of fighting is there. But I know what you're saying.
He has the Wing Chun punches. He has whatever. I got what you're saying. There is some of it there. I do agree. What they could have done is said, you know what, we're going to take maybe that strength that you talk about with the hat bouncing on the ground, and take some other normals from maybe MK9, MKX, put it all in one character. We have a Kung Lao, right? They could have done a lot of things like that. They could have said, we're gonna rather than spending all our time trying to develop a gimmicky combo system that we don't have time to because we have to create all new normals, all new this, all new that. We've already created these moves. Let's go ahead, put them in the game, right? We know they're no stranger to reusing animations. They do it all the time when they sell us a DLC product and try to pretend they worked on it.
Yeah.
I mean, so they could just say, let us take some of the mechanics that we know are proven, that we have experience with, and know what can go right or wrong, and make them better, and then spend the time that they have to work on some of the other content that maybe some of the casuals will love. Instead, they make a gimmicky system that God knows how long it took them to even try to figure out how to get it right, while also recreating everything. Every character needs new normals, new this, new that, and they just don't have time to do it all. So somebody there made a conscious decision to say, let us not take what is proven and tried and true across all three games and expand on that. Let us scrap all that and make a new gimmicky system and sell it. So that we don't have time to.
So my thing is, what you're saying, that point, I guess my question is, if we could like figure it out efficiently, is why would they do that? Like is that the gimmick to sell the game, or is that just like where they like? I'm asking, what do you think is the intention behind why that was the result versus like the alternative? Because regardless, like they want to sell the game, they want it to do well. So why pick Kameos instead of anything else?
I think NRS doesn't understand what people say when they say. People always say MK is the quote unquote casuals game. Every game is the casuals game. Games fail if they don't sell. Who buys them, Lou? Yeah,
casuals, for sure.
Every game is the casuals game. So I think NRS have made the mistake that developers in the past have, where they correlate being a casual to being a stupid person. And they feel like in order to sell our games, we need to create some type of quick gimmicky thing like, oh, snap, look at this, the cameo system now. 2 characters. What they didn't realize is, one, so what I'm saying is that they did it because they wanted to get quick cash grab sales, basically.
Okay. That's what I was asking.
Yeah, quick cash grab sales. They made 2 big mistakes. One, more than that, but obviously in using a gimmicky system they couldn't get right based on the amount of time and money that they had available to them. And 2 or 3, the casuals, for one, traditionally casuals, if a game is not traditionally tag or assist based, normally casuals don't react well to making a game a tag or assist game. Even though Tekken had Tekken Tag 1, which did well, in between there was Tekken 4, there was Tekken 5.0, 5.1, Tekken 5 TR, Tekken 6, Tekken 6 Bloodline Rebellion, right? And then comes Tekken Tag 2. Well, you built years of a community not familiar with Tag 1. And now all of a sudden you got a tag game that didn't go well with the casuals, which is the game didn't sell well. Capcom doesn't make Street Fighter an assist or tag game. They have a separate game that is tag or assist based. Do not put it in Street Fighter. Casuals traditionally don't like that. And also, the way the mechanics of it were done, because they just did not have the time or the funding to flush it out, the competitive players didn't like it either. So they didn't like how it was, how ease of access so much stuff was, how bland and watered down, just like Cyrex day one, right? But they just didn't like how the assist functioned. Casuals not only didn't like how it functioned, they also just didn't like the assist. So casuals didn't like it. Competitive players didn't like it. That's a recipe for disaster. And one more thing I want to point out, because you have people, look, when NRS, they are the ultimate front runner. When everything is going well, Ed Boon and everyone else at that studio, they're on Twitter, they're making public appearances.
I'll agree with you on this. I'll agree with you on this. Yeah.
They're yucking it up. When shit is going bad, all of a sudden the toxic positive content creators tell you now they are enslaved and prisoners by Warner Brothers, buried under this evil bureaucracy. But when MK1 was selling well, they couldn't wait after month 3. Look at us. Look at our sales. All of a sudden, they didn't need clearance for that. Look at what we're doing, right? Shit hits the fan. Well, they can't say anything. They're buried. Toxic, positive, shill content creators. The same people that when MK11 was done, they told you, oh, be patient. But guess what? All the be patienters out there, these toxic positive ones that got everyone's hopes up, when NRS dropped the bombshell, they couldn't be seen. Tom Brady and M2 Dave tried to get them on podcast to talk to them about this promised patch that we had to be patient for. Nope, you know what they were doing? Back making YouTube videos, copying my boy, we love him, MK Rio's idea of the best and worst version of everything in NRS history. Mm-hmm. They were nowhere to be found after their You know what they say? You know what? When you promise, when you have 500,000 and 900,000 subscribers, and you promise, be patient, keep spending your money like a good little soldier, and old NRS gonna bless you, and it doesn't happen, they're mad because they were promised. It's not Lou Streets and Tom Brady with our small followings that get people mad. You do with your toxic positivity across the millions of people that you have a reach. And MK1, what did they keep saying? Be patient, wait around till around month 3. How did that go? It needed 6 more months. Month 6, that was when Quan Chi came out and no one could play online over Christmas. Yeah, it was real complete then. They waited a year to complete it. And after every patch and every solvable product, what do the toxic positive content creators do? Every video, is the game saved? Is the game saved? SonicFox will tell you every patch was now the best version of the game.
Now, see, you can't do that. You can't do that because they're gonna think that because of the thing we had recently, they're gonna think that we're having this video to say that about Sonic, and I don't want that to be the main takeaway from this video.
I'm not saying it about Sonic because of the video. I'm just saying
no, but man, I'm saying because it's on my channel, they're gonna be like, oh, see, Lou, you're doing that on purpose. When that wasn't really something that we talked about the other day per se. So okay, the thing I want to ask you is because I'm trying to make sure I'll follow this so the person who can watch it. So main gripes. It's not made with love because it's not complete. That's your main first gripe. It's not. That's our difference of opinion in that. I say it's made with love when it comes to Mortal Kombat 11. You say no because it's not completed. So that's one. Your second gripe is it's not completed because we didn't receive new custom variations. We unlocked old ones and just put them in rank. So that's your second gripe. Your third one is them just pretty much ending that. So we move away from that for Mortal Kombat 11. Then we step into Mortal Kombat 1. Game not fully fleshed out. Cameo system was a gimmick, but an intentional selling point that you're saying was a conscious thought to sell the game while not being fully flushed. Almost like all sizzle, no steak. So that's your 2 for that. And then your third one would be with Combat Pack 3 not being canceled and toxic positive creators kind of shilling for it. It's kind of letting NRS escape with this pattern that they've done this for 2 games in a row. So those are your main overall gripes pretty much.
Let me ask you this about the toxic positive content creators. Let me ask you this. Even when the news came out that the game is not selling well and chaos reigns is the end. And, even though because remember, it's odd for that to happen where Ed Boon literally a month before says, hey, we're just getting started, baby. This is only year 2. Mm-hmm. We plan on supporting this for way longer. And then a month after that, basically in year 1.1, all of a sudden it's not selling well, plug is pulled. What do these toxic positive content creators do? Oh no, I have a new secret source. And first of all, when they call me and you negative for making videos about the funding possibly be cut, Doug, where do you think we got that news from? the toxic positive content creators who had no problem making videos. Look, I'm just minding my business at work. I see these on YouTube from these toxic positive content creators. And then when we make videos about it, oh, we're being negative.
That's true.
Dog,
that is a double standard. That is a double standard.
We're just reporting the news, right? But what we don't do is BS you. Because what do they turn around and do? Oh, new potential secret source says Kombat Pack 3. And we got all these toxic positive content creators all but promising you DLCs for Kombat Pack 3 from their new hidden sources. And once they make a few million views off you, then no, guess what? I guess that's canceled.
So let me play devil's advocate with that. Are you saying that is them really genuinely hoping, or you're saying they're consciously lying for the views?
They are just making it up. Put it this way. I made a tweet the other day that I didn't expect to get 2 million views.
I've seen it.
Right?
What was it? 3 Thriving or whatever? You talking about that?
Yeah. So here's why I did that. The toxic positive content creators have told you to ignore everything. When the game came out, it sold 3 million copies within the first 3 months. That's all they cared about. When we bring up the Steam numbers, you've done videos on this. Look at the Steam on MK11 and MK1. Like, what's going on here, right? Mm-hmm. What do they say? Maybe MK11 was just that good to people. Shut up. No. Normally that doesn't happen when a game, like just 3 or 4 months into a game's life, right? Mm-hmm. Where everyone's back on the old one. It didn't happen with Tekken 8. People weren't happy with Tekken 8 that early into the game. Tekken 7 wasn't touching it, right? So for them to say maybe Tekken 7 wasn't that game, Tekken 7 for the community early on, especially, they thought it was that game more than Tekken 8. They didn't go back to it. Mm-hmm. So we bring up the Steam numbers. When people bring up the PlayStation 5 numbers, and they're like, well, look, we're losing hundreds of thousands of players every single month. Starting in month 1, a drop off that other fighting games aren't seeing from month 1 to 2 to 3, etc. They say, that doesn't mean anything, right? It's selling well. So we bring you the Steam numbers. It doesn't mean anything. We bring you the numbers on PS5, whatever site that is. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't matter. Look how many players are still playing. Look how it's selling. So now the sales do matter until the sales are not selling well anymore. Then the sales don't matter anymore, right? Mm-hmm. The problem is, so it was all there from the numbers on Steam, the numbers that we were losing every month from month to month on the next gen consoles, to the numbers on Twitch. What do they always tell you? Well, MK's not a Twitch game. It's on YouTube, right? So even though we're like, but isn't it weird that every other game that's doing well is getting watched on Twitch and not MK? No. It's not. It's and then what do they say? Oh, it must be the Japanese players watching it. I mean, it must be. So the Japanese audience is the only one. The Asian audience that watches Twitch. Mm. I mean, Multiverses had 547 when MK had nothing. Must be all the Japanese people watching Multiverses, right? And I mean, come on, man. Like, it's been nothing but cope. All the numbers make sense. Guess what? Started losing a lot of people very early on. Not just on Steam, but on next-gen consoles. It also makes sense that people weren't watching as much. Offline entrants are low. Online entrants were low comparatively for other games, right? Everything was low. It's just like, hey, not as many watching as should be, not as many entering as should be. Combo Breaker right now, not Combo Breaker, Frosty Faustings. Mortal Kombat, I think, is what, number 22 of 24 games on a leaderboard?
I haven't even looked at it. Yeah,
it's held in Chicago, Illinois.
Where
is the game made, Lou?
Where the studio is, yeah.
Right. Must be all the Japanese and players flying over here to enter every other game to keep MK down. So, like, come on.
So let me ask you this, because I don't want this to be crazy long so people can follow it.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Put the nail in it now. Harada will fly to Vegas to play Tekken at Evo. No one from NRS will walk across the street to play their own game in their own backyard. Even they hate it.
Okay. So the thing that I want people to take away from this, because it's at 45 minutes and I don't want it to be too long so they can follow it, because to them it would seem like you're ranting, but the point is I wanted to clarify your points from like the video that I made. So ultimately, where do you stand at with Mortal Kombat, and where do you want to see it go in the future? Because like people think that you hate this franchise, you have fun dunking on it. What do you really want to see happen for Mortal Kombat?
Accountability
for the community and the game itself. What do you want to see happen?
What I want to see is I want to see MK go back to what MK has always been.
Which is what?
Which is, I want the soul of the characters to be. One, I don't want none of this Scorpion. I mean, like, first of all, storyline, it was terrible. You brought this up in your video, right? Like, Hanzo is a cameo now, and now Scorpion is Sub-Zero, and Sub-Zero is Sub-Zero. Like, it's stupid. I want to see the game go back to the lore that we all love, right? I also want to see, I don't want to see them be as conservative. I know what NRS, well, I want a game to be, no MK game has ever had that. Holy shit, this game is like changed for the better. And it's never had that Omega patch ever. What I want to see is MK launched at a very kind of like ridiculous level. What NRS is good at is taking something that's stupid. Look, we know they nerf all the time. They're great nerfers. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they over nerf. What NRS is terrible at is giving us some sauce. NRS will release a game with no sauce and take a year to give it to us, right? Release it with all the sauce and then tweak it down from there. Mm-hmm. But I think MK needs to have that holy shit reaction to it. Something, regardless, and you brought this up, and Eris has said this as well, MK has not always been good. He said it's rarely good, but we play it because it's always been fun. Mm-hmm. Whether I find MK11 good or not, you and not some others, you find it fun, right? And we could argue about MK11 all day, but it's so, which means somebody found it fun. Mm-hmm. The fun is gone. The fun's gone from MK. A game doesn't have to be good, but it has to be fun to live. You could have the best game in the world. If it's not fun, nobody cares. Look at MK1. Best NRS game of all time, they say. Best MK of all time. In the best state. Nobody cares. Why? It's not fun.
So ultimately, do you think that this humbling is the reset to that path? Because I mean, it's undeniably being humbled right now, the franchise.
I think so. I think it's the reset to that path. I also feel like for the first time they're being forced to take accountability because people are angry. The reason why this happened is NRS has never had to be accountable. When Street Fighter V was terrible, somebody had to be held accountable, and they were. When Harada, Tekken Tag 2 didn't sell well, Harada was on the hot seat. Mm-hmm. Get something that sells or done. Another one of these and you're done. Accountability. When games don't meet their expectations money-wise, somebody has to be held accountable. And the community has absolved NRS of all accountability, which is why they feel they can shove garbage down our throat and we'll pay for it. What I want to see is, this humbling is good. They're finally being held accountable. I want people to realize that your toxic content creators are the problem, not people like me, Lou Streets, or Mike Hollow. What do we want? We just want a game that we can have fun with. We don't want to see MK, die. But it's going back to being a party game where it's not taken seriously and it's not even fun to boot. So I want to see MK go back to what people loved about it, right? MK has always been over the top. Is it always the quote unquote most balanced and best game? No. But when it's over the top, it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. People love it. Have fun with it. You see my point?
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Well, we'll see as I put this video out, because I know people like Tom is ranting in the dark as it's gotten completely dark out there. But I definitely
it's not even ranting.
No, I don't think you are. But I'm saying people are going to see it that way because of what we talked about. But the thing I wanted them to take away from this video was that whatever I misrepresented you on, I wanted you to clarify that for them in your own words so they can get like your intention.
But the reason why I wanted to go on all this is people think like you're an MK1 hater.
Which is hilarious.
They think I'm an MK11 hater or an MK1 hater as well. But I gave MK11 plenty of props here. I think it was a great design that was not implemented properly. MK11 was very, very close to being that game.
I think it was one of the best fighting games of all time. That I think even with its faults, it was one of the best fighting games of all time.
It's so crazy. It was like it walked a line where people are either going to remember it as terrible, but just a few small tweaks, and they'll remember it as the GOAT. It's just so crazy how it's right on that line. And we all saw it for that. And we were like, man, we just kept paying for it because we saw the potential unfulfilled. People don't pay for MK1 because they look at it and they say, what potential? The cameo system, it's screwed.
Yeah, for sure. But no, man, I definitely appreciate it. I'm putting this shit up and out because Yeah, you make sense of what you're saying. Like what it really made me think about was have you had a chance? Did you do a reaction video to Mortal Kombat 1 announcement by chance?
I did. I was really high on the game. I gave it a chance.
Exactly. So I remember watching like one of my memories popped up as far as the clip, and I remember just seeing the excitement in my face because I thought, okay, if Mortal Kombat 11 was this close, I really thought before we got the official title, I thought Mortal Kombat 12 was about to be like the greatest thing ever. And I think that this would be more received better if it was either Injustice 3 or if Mortal Kombat 11 wasn't so close and they'd be like, okay, we just got a new game we can play. But Mortal Kombat 11 just was so right there that it does make MK1 a little mind-boggling if you're trying to be objective about it. But of course, like I'll get some hater comments on this video, but I mean, I try to keep this as objective as possible. I wanted to play devil's advocate to things you said so you can clarify so people will understand where you're coming from. But of course, you got some people that just, they're not going to understand it because it's just simply you saying it.
Yeah, and the reason why I went long on the MK11 stuff is I leave comments on your videos and people are like, Tom's always been an MK11 hater. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to explain it so that when I tell you I think MK11 is horrible, why I feel that way. I just feel like it's so close, but man, some things, the custom variation system, terribly implemented. Breakaway, terribly implemented. Flawless block, terribly implemented. And another fault NRS does, just so we close here, just to bring attention to this for the future. Their biggest problem is they overcorrect, meaning every fighting game will try to correct a problem in the old game in the new game, right? It's common. Mm-hmm. NRS doesn't bring any of the old game over. So, for example, let's just take MK11. The MK11's wake-up system is a direct overcorrection to all the pressure in MKX. Mm-hmm. The wake-up system would have worked great in MKX. It doesn't work great in MK11 because you don't got MKX's offense in MK11. Yep. It caused more problems than it solved. Upblock. Upblock in MK1 is a direct result to anti-airs just being garbage in MK11. Garbage. And sometimes you could even flawless block things like Cabal's jump kick at certain range and your up 2 misses because some up 2s were garbage, right? So it was literally but the problem is you don't have the obnoxious, you have some obnoxious jump ins like Johnny Cage's jump kick, but most of the jump ins you can anti-air, you can down tilt. They introduced a mechanic that says you need no foresight to read someone's going to jump and no reaction. So without any reading or any reaction, you see a jump and say, oh, it creates another scrubby mind game. And they were trying to correct a problem due to these obnoxiously huge hitbox jump-ins and terrible anti-airs. But they made anti-airs better. The new down 2 mechanic is good, and jump-ins aren't obnoxious. You don't even need upblock, which, by the way, the person doing it has almost no risk to a jump-in. So overcorrection without porting over. If they actually ported over some things from the previous MK games, they could use some of the new mechanics and they would no longer be overcorrections. Yeah. But they're NetherRealm. But thanks for having me, Lou. Sorry for going long. Hope you guys don't think I'm...
You always go long. You get very passionate. I'll be letting you go because one thing I'm impressed by, your ability to pull facts in memory while going on such a tangent without losing yourself. I'm always impressed by how you're able to do that. Because you're very fact-based in what you say in regards to... Because like this is the thing, right? When it comes to our main view of MK11, I love it, you hate it. But the reasons that we hate it and love it are very different. At that time, I was playing from a content creator's perspective, so you would consider me a competitive casual. I'm good at the game, but I'm a casual player that makes content, right? Sure. Your philosophy on it is based on implementation. My philosophy on it is just based on what I'm experiencing. But you're saying you can't enjoy the experience to the extent that I can because you feel like that there are unfinished things left on the table, where to me, I'm just playing the game and like what I'm playing. That's the difference in how we view that.
I hate it, while simultaneously it's very close to me being able to love it. Mm-hmm. It's just a great thing. So I went long because I wanted to go into detail, because when I say things, people just think, oh, I'm saying it from a place of hate. Mm-hmm. I really want to explain, no, I understand fighting games very, very well. And I understand why the things are the way they are. And my opinions are based on this, not just, oh, it's MK, so I hate it or I'm going to dunk on it. So that's why I like to explain in more detail. Otherwise, I say something or you say something and they say, Lou Street said it. Man, that guy just hates everything. It's
Yeah,
Mortal Kombat.
I got that. I think the other day somebody called me in the comment, "Oh, this guy's a Tekken and Street Fighter player," and I just made me laugh. Like, bro, I got 700 videos.
Go back to Tekken, Lou.
Yeah,
if you love it so much.
I just started playing Tekken this year, but for sure, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get this up and out. Hopefully, people can
Appreciate
follow
it,
it. I
Lou.
definitely
Thanks for
appreciate the
having me,
time, brother. Have a great evening.
You too.
Peace. Why do you do that so recklessly? Stop it. Doing that shit no more.